Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to start and finish a themed cup. This cup is going to be a Kobe Bryant themed cup. I'm going to spray paint the bottom purple and the top gold. I've already taped off the top and I'm going to go ahead and start to spray paint the bottom. This purple color is the rustoleum gloss purple. So let's get started. All right, so now that this bottom layer is dry, I went ahead and taped as close to the top of where the purple ended as I possibly could. So you can see it's a little left overhanging, but that's okay. It'll kind of give it a little effect. And then I also taped the inside of the tumbler. That way none of the spray paint will get on the inside of the lip. If it does, you can always use a little acetone to clean it up. But this way, this will avoid that, you having to do that. So let's go ahead and spray. So I noticed that even though I taped off that top border, it still splattered a little bit, which I like the effect, but if you don't want that, just tape off the entire bottom half. I kind of like that effect that it's giving off. I don't like that. If you don't like that, then obviously you don't have to do that, but so I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry and I'll be back. So I realized that when I started this clip, I forgot to show you guys how to mix the epoxy. So later on in the video, you will see how to mix the epoxy and how to spread it on. So now that our first layer of epoxy is on, it pretty much just spins. This particular epoxy has a 45-minute play with time and a 12-hour cure time. So it's going to spin for the next 12 hours. Hey guys, welcome back. So we're done with the first layer of epoxy and we're ready to put our, well, we're going to start to put our decals on. However, sometimes you'll get what's called fish eyes in your cup. So if you notice, they're like little spots. And there's just a couple in this one. There's none at the bottom, they're just at the top. And then you also notice at the lip, there's a little bit of receding. So sometimes that happens with the epoxy. It kind of just wants to draw away from the edge of the cup for whatever reason. There are things that you can buy to aid in that. I can leave a link down below in the description box if you're interested. I haven't used any of those products. I haven't tried to. I thought about trying it, so maybe I will. If I do, I'll of course put a tutorial on how to use that product. What usually happens though is sometimes you don't have enough epoxy. This is a pretty big cup. This is a 30-ounce modern curve cup, so it's a little wider at the top. So I may have underestimated the amount of epoxy that I've used. However, there is an easy fix. You just have to sand it out, smooth it out a little bit, and then put another layer of epoxy on. I'm only going to smooth out the parts that need to be smooth, so that one part of fisheye right there and then the other part of the fisheye on the opposite side. I'm still going to put my decals at least on the bottom because there's nothing wrong with the bottom. The bottom is smooth. And so yeah, so I'm going to show you my decals. So because again it's a Kobe Bryant themed cup, I have the number 8, which will go on one side, have a white one and then a gold one. So the white goes on first and the gold one will overlap that. And then again with the 24 for the opposite side of the cup, so 24 in white and gold, again overlapping each other. And then I also have a saying that's gonna go on the cup. I'm gonna do a reverse weeding on this particular one. I've already weeded out all of the little inserts, but if you're interested in learning a tutorial of how to create the decals, I use Cricut Design Space. So if you're interested in learning how to do any of the decals, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll definitely do a tutorial on how to do decals with the vinyl. So the first thing I want to do, and I always do this, there's other methods that you can do, but or you can do nothing, but I always just like to get a little bit of alcohol before I start working on my surface and kind of just wipe it off. That'll kind of eliminate any fingerprints that may have been on it or oils from your fingers. So I'm just like that. So at this point, I really don't know what side I'm gonna have the words on, what side I'm gonna have the picture on, mainly because the top I do need to still sand it down, but I want to get my bottom decals on, that way I don't have to worry about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my 24 on. I've already put it on the vinyl. Sometimes you gotta play with it a little bit to get it to come off. There we go, 24. All right, so with these, I kind of like to bend it in a little bit to put that middle part down first, and then from there I smoothen out. Now this one I think is gonna be a little different because it kind of goes like a swoop like that. So I'm actually gonna go opposite and do it middle the long way, as opposed to, well, middle, you know, like in half that way, as opposed to this way like I normally do. And let's see if that works out a little bit better. Now I never put it on really hard, like I kind of just do a soft placement. That way if something is not, you know, lining up, I can always fix it. So I can already see that this is giving me a little bit of a hard time, especially with this too. So I'm gonna try to force that down a little bit. All right, pull that up. It also sometimes helps if you cut it, like I could have cut this in half and placed it that way. If you have a really good eye, sometimes it works well and you just place it really great, and then sometimes it is not the greatest. This is Cricut removable vinyl. The only reason why I'm using a removable vinyl is because it's gonna be sealed, so I don't have to worry about it, you know, popping out or anything like that. If this weren't gonna be sealed, then I, of course, would use a permanent vinyl. So right now I'm just putting down any little air bubbles that I may see. I have long nails, so I just use my nails, but you can use, I don't think I have it in here, a little like scraper tool. Well, not a scraper, but it's kind of like a little piece with a little wedge that you can just, you know, smooth it down with. If it's not perfect, that's okay. That is okay. So that's what the 24 looks like. All right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put my gold 24 on top. Now, this one might be tricky for me because I kind of got to get it centered. Because I want that white to show. That's kind of like the outline of it. So I think I actually am going to cut this in half, and I'm just gonna work with one at a time, since I already have the numbers down. This might help a little bit. Just kind of airline it up and then place it. That looks good. Now, I suggest doing it individually like this. I wouldn't suggest putting both layers on at the same time. In other words, I put my transfer paper on top of this 8, pull this 8 off, and then I put that same transfer paper on top of that white number 8, that backing. I've done that before, not on a tumbler, but I've tried to do that on something else, and it kind of just bubbled that bottom image, and of course you don't want to have a bubble. So again, just smooth it down a little bit and pull that transfer sheet off. And voila, you have your 24. Of course, it's backwards, but you have your 24. So I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite side, 8, and there you have it, 24 and 8. You see just a little bit of the white background. So now I'm gonna go ahead and sand. I use a finer sand block. You can use a wet dry sandpaper. Have that one too. Just wet it and then sand it down. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sand this, not all the way down, of course. You don't want to basically strip it. You just want to sand it just so that it's not as bubbly, just so it has a smoother finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so I just kind of sanded it down. You'll notice that it has scratches. Obviously, you're sanding something, it's gonna have some scratches. That's okay. It will clear itself out once you put that next layer of epoxy on, so you won't even see that it had a couple scratches on it. Again, I only sanded down the couple parts that I needed, which was this one and this one and this one. There were only 3 spots on here, so not horrible. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get my next amount of epoxy ready, and we're gonna get ready to put that second layer on top of this. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get our epoxy mix together so we can pour. So you want to use A. I'm gonna do a little more because I'm gonna use my access for another project that I'm working on, but I'm gonna go to 40. You'd probably want to go to maybe 20 for a total of 40 milliliters altogether. Again, you want to mix equal parts. So because I did 40 for A, the resin, I'm gonna do another 40 for B, the hardener. Right. I really like my silicone molds because once it dries, you just pull it on out. All right, so mix your A and B together. Make sure you scrape those sides as best as possible. It's never going to be 100%, but you want to get as much out of this little container as you can. That way when it cures, you don't have any issues with tacky parts. So I separated my epoxy because I do keychains and straw toppers. So that way, if I don't use all of my epoxy, I can have those different cups where I can put like glitter in one cup or some pigment in another cup and create the different colored keychains or a sparkly keychain with that leftover epoxy. All right, y'all. So I let this spin overnight. It actually fell off the turner last night, which is my fault. I was messing with it earlier, but this piece right here, it wasn't in all the way. That's the only reason why it fell. I picked it up super fast. So luckily, I'm still smooth. The cup had no issues, no damage. I really got lucky. In the case that once you do your second epoxy coat, when you're sealing in your vinyl, once it's done, you still have some fish eyes. Again, you're gonna have to sand it down again. Smooth, of course, don't sand it down too far, especially if you end up having to sand where your decal is, wherever your decal may be. But if your decal were here, you don't want to sand this down too much because it will scratch into your decal. And once you scratch into your decal, there's no recovering from that. So you have to sand it down again, smooth, and then put another layer on, and then you can go on with the next steps. So I've made 2 water slides. And just let me know if you want me to do a tutorial on water slides. I will gladly do so. So I made 2 different water slides. This one is a clear water slide. This one is a white water slide. I actually don't think I'm gonna do the clear one, mainly because his uniform is white. And once I put it on here, it's gonna end up turning it yellow because of the white. So we're just gonna go with the white one. That way the white uniform will stay white. I'm gonna trim off these edges. I'm gonna trim as close to possible of this as I can, mainly because if I don't, that white border will in fact be in my on my tumbler, and I don't want that. I just want the image. All right. Ta-da! So the next step is you want to have a bowl of water, a cup of water, probably a bowl, something big enough because this is going to have to be submerged in there. I like warm water, not hot water, not cold water, just a nice warm, even like a room temperature type of water. Again, I'd be more than happy to do a water slide tutorial. Just let me know in the comments. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in here while this is submerged, about 50 seconds. It may curl up, that's okay. I'm not going to uncurl it. So I want my image where the 8 is. So you're going to take a little water. You're going to wet it up. Wet it up, wet it up. So I think we might be good. Let's see. When you can start pulling it off of the backing, that's really how you know it's ready. It should only be like 50 seconds. This one's being a little stubborn. Right here in this corner. So you know what I'm gonna do? That part is being stubborn. I'm gonna cut that off. So it looks like I might have some problem with that particular corner. So I'm unfortunately gonna have to cut my image down even more. Blah. That's all right. Ta-da! See, sliding off. So now, I'm gonna position it on here. And you literally just slide it off of the back end. Like that. And then get you a paper towel and you just smooth it. You don't want to be too rough with it because you don't want it to possibly rip. But you want to get all of those little air bubbles, at least as many as you can, out. You don't really want them to be too many gaps in it. You're really just smoothing out all that water. Because remember, you put water on the cup itself. That way your water slide will slide on there easier. So you're kind of just squeegeeing out, in a sense, that extra water. And that's how it looks. Now, I can't just go ahead and throw epoxy on here right now, because if I do, it's going to end up curling up and totally destroy what we worked so hard on. So instead, we have to let this dry. So I'm going to go on, turn on my other side, because remember, I still got to put my words on. This is a Kobe quote. It says, "The moment you give up is the moment you let someone else win." So I'm going to put this on my opposite side. I did a reverse weed on this one. Made it so much easier. Again, you don't want to press it down too hard in case you have some accidents, so to speak, because I promise it will happen. Right. So mine is good, so I am going to go ahead and smooth it. There's like one spot with this L, but I can kind of maneuver it. All right, so let's pull this off. Keep on there. So there's our quote, and there's our picture. All right, so I'm just gonna let this dry, let this water slide dry, and then I'll be back in a bit and we'll apply our last layer of epoxy. Welcome back. So I just showed you guys how to apply the water slide, and I applied the words. So now we're gonna apply the final layer of epoxy. Again, if you want me to show you how to do a water slide tutorial, let me know in the comments below, and I will gladly create a tutorial for how to do a water slide, both clear and with the white back. The water slide has had plenty of time to dry, so we are going to put our final coat on. I'm using my silicone cup, and we're gonna do our part A and our part B. So I'm gonna do a little more, because I always use my leftover to create like keychains, or sometimes I'll do other different type of molds like straw toppers and things of that nature. So I did 30 of part A, and I'm gonna do 30 of part B to give me a total of 60. And then we'll mix it all together. I'm going upwards because I want to make sure that I'm covering that, the lip of that cup. And then once I know this whole part is good, then I'll scale back down to get the bottom of the cup. Remember, you don't want to forget the bottom unless you're going to leave the bottom uncovered. Some people like to leave like a half of an inch from the bottom. So if that's something that you decide to do, then of course you're not gonna go all the way down. But this is a full cup for me, so I am gonna go all the way down. Just taking a little bit of that epoxy and smoothing it out around the lip of the cup. And now I'm going to scale down. Put a little bit on my finger and kind of just rub it over the bottom of the cup. So again, it has a 45-minute working time, so I can still play with it if I need to, but I'm actually not. However, what I am going to do, so I'm going to get a lighter. So I don't have a low torch or anything of that. No, I use a lighter, just a regular lighter. And all I'm gonna do is just hit it to kind of eliminate some of the bubbles that occur. There we go. Needed a bigger flame. It does the same. It's that CO2 that's in the lighter that helps it. Eliminate those little bubbles in there. Just a quick swipe. You don't want to hold it over there too long, so you don't want to risk burning your epoxy. So it's just real quick, even, smooth all throughout, and it's just kind of popping out. I know I'm not gonna get every single bubble, and you know, that's okay. And here is the finished product. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks, guys.